Okay, doing a review for the FV201 Black Edition today, as decided on the forum thread that I did. This one won the votes, so took it out for a few games to see what it could do. This was its very first battle, got Kamara in and was quite nicely top tier. I'll show you what it plays like when it's top tier. The tank itself is probably mediocre for most people. The gun, the alpha, is really kind of crap. I'm doing about 150 average, I think. Penetration's about 171. You get nearly 250 on the premium shell though, I believe. I could be wrong on that one. But the AP shell, if you're top tier, then it's worth using. If you're not top tier, then you're going to want to use your premium, which is why you can see my loadout there. I've got 30 APCR shells on this, and it needs them, because if Matchmaker doesn't like you, then you're going to rely on them a lot. You tell them tier 6s in the games, because look at all the absolutions. Absolutely bloody loads of them, including one there, right up my bottom. So yeah, anyway, E-Bug's off the other way. Now I'm playing quite aggressive here, because I'm top tier. This tank does have 1500 hit points, which is a nice amount. The armor on it isn't so great, but you can use 1500 hit points to good effect. The gun has got decent gun handling. The base accuracy is 0.33, but I've got a vents vertical stabilizer. I'm running pudding as well, as you can tell there, because I want to get the accuracy as good as I can at the moment. This tank, it's not the best heavy in tier, we'll put it that way, so I'd suggest running food if you can. This isn't a tank that's probably going to make much money for people. This is a crew trainer. If you're after a premium tank to make money, then, you know, I'd say go for a tier 8 or just a better tank. This one is good crew trainer, and, you know, that's about it really. So against this, I'm going for the turret against the Absolution, because it seems to have pretty troll armor on the hull. Going for the turret on the ones over there as well. The gun is fairly decent. Yeah, I'm shooting down the buildings because I've got plenty of cover. The thing here is I've got a decent rate of fire and quite a few shells, so I can afford to use some destroying cover. I'm having to be careful that I don't go too far forwards when engaging those ones though, because otherwise the tank on the left is going to shoot me. And typically you tend to get TDs camping the back corner. You can see him there in C1 at the moment. I've got to be careful of that. I'm focusing the guys on the right here, because if I ignore them and try shooting the guys on the left around the corner, there's 3 tanks over there who can then put shells in the side of my tank. Actually bounced a shot there, so the armor, you know, top tier can do okay if you're angling it. But if you're bottom tier, this armor isn't really going to do so much. The turret can bounce. Right, there. I was tunnel visioning the guys on the other side. I wasn't paying attention, and I lost my ammo rack and a chunk of health. That was, yeah, that was a big mistake on my part, and it shows, you know, the downsides of getting preoccupied shooting one target. I wasn't paying attention and I paid for it. Thankfully though, this tank does have a lot of hit points, so it's quite forgiving in that way. And here you can see me wearing him down. He got another hit in because, well, I'll be honest, I'm being a bit careless here. I'm top tier. I was mainly wanting to see what the gun can do. I'm playing very aggressive, but I'm losing more hit points than I should have done. But I've realised at this point, and I'm backing off thinking, nah, I'm being a bit daft, playing this a bit stupidly. Which is a good thing to do. I see a lot of people who get themselves in bad situations, and, you know, they'll commit to it. If you can get out of a bad situation, do so. This guy's distracted, so I've gone round to kill him now. You know, bit of revenge, might as well. This tank is good at whittling down tanks one-on-one, because of that decent rate of fire. Now here, I'm actually side scraping. I'm using the building in front of me to do it. I'm not touching the building in front. So it's not as good as, you know, side scraping against it, but I didn't want to risk going up against the actual building itself, because there's a heavy tank on my right hand side. So here I'm covered from the heavy, and the building in front of me is covering me for the most part against that tank destroyer over there. It's a T28 HTC, but he's not looking at me, so I'm trying to get some shots in. Fortunately, the replay system doesn't show outlines, so you can't see which way he's facing right now. I don't think I did any damage to him anyway. The gun is quite good, but, you know, you do have those moments where it just trolls you. Here again, just slinging some shots off. I got plenty of shells, so I'm spitting them out hoping to get a couple of hits in because they're nearly dead and I just want what damage I can get. Overall in this game though, I wasn't really able to put much of the gun depression to work. Basically I was top tier and I just used brute force to muscle my way to some damage. It can do that when it's top tier well enough, but not against multiple tanks. Try and keep it one-on-one, where you can use your hit points and the rate of fire to whittle people down. If you're top tier and you get cocky and you go up against 2 or 3 tier 5 or 6 tanks, they're still going to tear you apart. So you got to pick your battles. Did about 2,700 damage I think it was on this game, so it was a decent amount, but I didn't do anything skillful in that. That was a game that I'd say even the average player could probably do. I was watching, certain bits to make sure I didn't get a shot, but you saw that Russian tank sneak up on me. So yeah, top tier, it can bully people quite well. Next is going to be a bottom tier game, and in that one I'm going to show you how you actually play the tank, if you're trying to play it well, and you're not just forcing your way through the red team. So, second game, El Alamein, and I'm quite, well, bottom tier is probably an understatement. I think there's 2, maybe 3 tier 7s on my team on this one, and the Reds have got 2 tier 7s. So this matchmaking, this is pretty grim. I want to make a correction from my last video, it doesn't get 250 on the premium shell, it's 239. So, sorry about that. Right, so on this one, first thing I've done, started the game, check the roster, see what the tiering's like, see what tanks they've got, and I've noticed one thing that works in my favour on this, which is no arty. This is a tank that's going to rely on hold down when bottom tier especially, and if there is artillery in the game, this was going to be grim, because it's a big open map. I mean a black tank at that, and I'm bottom tier, so for artillery, this is just a huge target. So at this point, I'm quite relieved that there's none of them in the game. Right now, so regarding the tank, as you can see, it's fairly mobile for a heavy, it's not so bad. It gets 10 degrees gun depression, which you can put to really, really good use. Obviously, I mentioned the shells already, it's 171 on the AP, 239 on the premium. And on this one, I'm going to end up slinging some premium at various tanks. I've still got my AP loaded at the moment, because I figured there might just be, a few little pot shots I might take. At this point though, I've got no good shots in the tank up there, I didn't want to risk cresting over the ridge. I've come over here because there's more and I want to see what I can do, but I'm checking before I crest. I'm using right bump in the directions to peek over. That's 2 tier 9 tanks, so we're probably looking this way. So I think, nope, I don't really want to risk losing half my hit points looking over there. It's always worth doing that, by the way. Yeah, if you're near a ridge, I don't know what the controls are on PlayStation, but use the free camera to rotate and just have a quick look over and see what the enemies are doing. If a gun's pointing at you, don't go over. I've come back over here and I noticed that T-32 is about to break cover. So he could be a nice tank to take a chunk out of. Because, I mean, the T-32 is a good tank in its own right, but it's not really got a laser accurate gun. So here I'm thinking, as long as I back off between shots, I might do okay. While I put some shots into him, I'm just going to go through some of the XP earn rates on this. This is a black tank, so that means it gets a extra 75% on its XP generation rate, which is a decent amount. My crew have been leveling up really, really fast in this tank. And that also means you get free XP at a faster rate using these. I mean, you're not going to be getting loads and loads of free XP per battle, but if you were to play one of these for a few thousand games, you'd end up with a chunk more free XP than you would do using a bog standard premium tank or a tech tree tank. The silver bonus though is only 30%, and I'm using food as it is, and if you have to sling a few premium shells, it eats at your profits. If you get destroyed and you lose, then you're going to lose a chunk of money with the loadout I've got. So that is something to be wary of. On this game, I'm a bit reluctant to leave this, part of the map I'm on at the moment, because it's serving me quite well. Something's obviously trying to take a few shots out of me at this point. I don't know what that is, but as you can understand, I'm not in any hurry to find out. I was hoping to maybe get a cheeky shot on the side of the T-54, but it doesn't seem to be happening, so I'm not going to overextend trying to get shots on him, because as I said, there's something over there trying to get a couple. I'm not sure why the TD was going to try going in front of me there, despite the fact I'm blatantly getting shot. He backed off, which was the good thing to do. I'm taking a few pot shots here because I can see the traces in game of you know, the tank that's shooting me. But I'm guessing he must have decent cover because my shells aren't connecting with anything, and I don't want to waste my ammo, so I figure I'm not going to do that anymore now. Now I'm just weighing up, because where I am, it's a good spot, but there's nothing happening, so there's no point in me staying there, so I've decided to push onwards at this point, and I spot a T-30. So the first thing I do is stop. I don't want to go any further if he can get a shot in my side. I'm having a quick check, and then I see he's engaging people over there, so I'm clear. But that does mean I've got to leg it over this open bit, because if he changes his mind and looks this way, then I'm going to lose a chunk of health. Alright, so the tank that was shooting me before is a T-34-100. Now, I would have liked to go up this bit on my left here to get the height advantage, but if I went up that ridge, then that T-30 would have a nice juicy shot straight on my side. So I'm having to just go this way and hope the T-34 doesn't land any hits. He is in an awkward spot for the tank he's in, because he doesn't really have any gun depression. So I figure I'm safe unless he overextends. There I spot the YAG tag that's not quite looking at me. Now this is something you can do if you find a tank like this. This tank's fast enough to perma-track things, so if you shoot them in the front sprocket, then you can do like I'm doing now, do damage, keep them tracked, and it's a good way to just whittle down a tier 9 heavy tank, or a TD in this case. The mediums, you know, you can hit them for the most part anywhere, but things like this you've got to be careful. I'm expecting the T-34-100 to shoot me, but he seems to have buggered off for now. I don't know where. If I was him, I'd have been putting shots into me right now, but you know, I'm not going to complain that he's not doing. Now, I got that YAG tag down to very low health, and then, you know, naturally my shots stopped doing damage, and you know, we're doing nothing to him, but that's just how it is. At this point I'm pushing on this guy. I want to close range, and I'm using the cover as you can see there, because I know if I do that, for him to get a shot where he can pen me, he's got to overextend. Now he realises that, I'm guessing, and he backs off. I'm going after him at this point because I want to see if I can just wear him down before those two over mediums decide to turn around and come after me. However, at this point I noticed the Pershing's on the way, so I'm trying to back off a bit here because they're platooned, and typically if you get the attention of one person who's platooned, then you're going to get the attention of the rest, and sure enough that's what's happened. So I want to back off here because while I've got a good rate of fire, the two tanks versus one of these, it's not going to go in my favour, and while I do have other tanks with me, I'm the bottom tier tank, so you know, the Reds are going to shoot me. However, now there's enough green tanks here for me to start being a bit more aggressive, I figure, at this point, and try and get a few more shots in. You have to be careful though, because that armour on the last game it could bounce a few shots, and it did here against the T-34-100. Against tier 8 and 9 tanks, it's really not going to do anything. It might as well just be paper. As you can see there, he just cut straight through and damaged my ammo. So you've got to be really, really careful when you're bottom tier. Try not to be the focus of the red team, or if you are, then wait for allies to show up or something like that. You don't want to be engaged in a tier 8 or 9 tank that can be shooting you if you can avoid it. Another reason I've not gone after him here, because if I'd have gone up like they did, he would have just poked out, just get a little shot in me, killed me, and been happy with that. It's just part of being bottom tier. Right, so now I'm not going on about my gameplay. Impressions regarding the tank: it's a very good crew trainer. It can use its its rate of fire and its HP to its advantage, but this isn't an overpowered tank. You've got to be very, very careful, and I'd only really suggest this one to people if you really do need a British crew trainer. Otherwise, if you're going for a tier 7 tank, I'd suggest Tiger 131 ideally, because that one is really, really good, or even the Minuteman. But this tank, I wouldn't say it's as bad as people have said. It's okay, but you've really got to pick your battles. Like I said, one-on-one, use ridge lines while you can. Just be very, very careful.